the gender dysphoria that I had living in between was so severe. It was so much worse than just living as a gay male
Wow.
because I just didn't feel I had an identity. You know,
Yeah.
I felt unseen. I didn't feel a part of any community. I didn't feel, I just didn't feel anything. I
Yeah.
was lost.
Hey, everybody. I caught myself another one. We're going to have a great conversation today. So, before I move forward and introduce my new beautiful guest, I really love that you're subscribing. We hit 90,000, which is incredible. And we're just growing every day. And the comments, you're all, it's weird. We don't get a lot of negative comments anymore. I don't know what that's all about, but that's an excellent sign. I mean, opinions are great, but nastiness isn't. So, again, please leave great comments. I read all of them. I respect all of you so much. Subscribing, ring the bell thing, and that's it. Let's move forward now. So, hi, is it Eileen? Is that how I pronounce your name, Eileen?
It's Eileen Dover. It's sort of a play
Eileen
word
Dover.
with the drag name.
Excellent.
When I was
Excellent.
younger, I came out at like 13 years old, and to get into the clubs, I grew up in Boston in a really, really,
Okay.
difficult part of the city. Went to Catholic school, and when I came out, I burst out. Like, and I went to something called Boston Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth,
Okay.
and it was Bagley, and the kids there taught me how to do drag so that you could get into the clubs. And I started to feel, I mean, I always felt this from a young age, but when I first went into drag, I felt empowered almost for the first time in my life. I felt me. I felt like I was who I was, and I realized later on, I didn't have words to put to it then, but it was gender dysphoria that I had had,
Mm-hmm.
growing up. Um, I was bullied by boys. I was, abused. And you've heard of the movie Spotlight?
Yes.
Not my story alone, but you
Yes.
can draw the conclusions of what happened to me in high school. So when I hit my 20s, I started to ask questions, and I
Mm-hmm.
started to wonder, like, because I met trans people at that point. I'd met
Mm-hmm.
trans people when I was 14, like, and I started to ask questions. I started to ask, do I want to be a woman because I just hate men? Because I've been
Wow.
so thoroughly beat down by men.
Yeah.
Um, and I got some therapy. I did some work on myself in my 20s. I raged ahead. Everything that felt good, I just did it. Ended up doing hormones. Back then, I'm sure you remember, doctors weren't handing them out.
Nope.
You needed like heavy duty paperwork to
That's
get
right.
hormones. So my friend was giving them to me on the side, injection
Yeah.
hormones, on this, like, it's probably what killed Candy Darling, but
Totally.
yeah,
Yep.
she had cancer from the hormones. So I again, I started to continue to feel more myself. I only went out at night. I was a nightclub personality. I was an entertainer, still am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I took the hormones and I was dating men who were attracted to trans women. So although I wasn't really identifying as a trans woman, I was kind of living a trans lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
nobody saw me without, you know,
Yeah.
my full watch. So, so I kind of considered that my first transition, like 'cause I was medically transitioning. I mean, things were happening to my body.
Right.
And then, the nightclub scene wore down, and I cleaned up my act, and I decided to just pull away. I stopped dressing up. I stopped entertaining for a while. I got sober, and
Right.
I pulled away, and
Right.
things got good really quick. I got a boyfriend. I got the job. I got the apartment. I got the dog. We didn't have 2 point kids in the suburbs, but we were living, a really nice life. but it was always gnawing at me. The dysphoria was there. It was
That's
always
right.
gnawing at me.
Sure.
Um, so fast forward, came back, moved to, I was back and forth between Boston and New York. Fast forward, I moved to New York again a long time ago. I can't even remember when, but I've been in New York for a really long time. And during the pandemic, we all did a lot of soul searching, I think. We had
Yeah.
nothing but time on our hands. And it just wouldn't go. It was just like, it was that neighbor that just keeps knocking on your door, to
Yep.
borrow sugar or whatever. It just
Yep.
wouldn't go away. So I decided, you know what? I had a huge health scare. I had kidney failure during the pandemic. And then after that, I had to relearn how to walk again. I had a condition
Oh,
called rhabdomyolysis because I flipped on, I'm an artist as well, a visual artist. So I
okay.
had this like stuff that was really slippery and I slipped on it. And my muscles were atrophied from being inside. So the muscle tissue dissolved and went through my kidneys, clogged everything up. And off to the hospital I went, stayed in the hospital for a month. Yeah, it was really, really crazy. Um, and I lost about 50 pounds of muscle tissue. The entire right side was basically skeletal, the side that I had fell on.
But what? That is the most crazy thing. So during COVID, when you're not sort of doing all this stuff, your muscles atrophied. Is that what
So
happened?
I got COVID and I was really, really
Yeah.
sick. So I was in bed. And in New York
Okay.
City, we really don't have a lot of space. So my
That's
room,
right.
the
Yeah.
roommate and I at the time, we were both very sick with COVID and we were basically in bed. And when I got up and I started working on my art again. My roommate was
Yeah.
out of town. Um,
Yeah.
and I slipped and basically landed really hard on the floor on my right side.
Right.
And I knocked myself unconscious. I didn't feel quite right. And I woke up and I couldn't remember my name. I didn't know where I was.
What?
And I urinated and it was the color of Pepsi. And I knew that this is not this 911.
Yep.
I had to find a piece of
Yep.
mail to tell them what my address was because I was
Oh
just
my.
so out of it. I got there and I was given about a 3% chance of pulling through.
Oh my
But
God.
yeah, tough times.
Wow, that's a crazy story. So, okay, go on. No, this is actually
But
fascinating.
there's more. So hospital, going back physical therapy, learning how to walk. One weekend, New Year's weekend of not last year, but the year before, I
Okay.
couldn't hold down water. I was vomiting like crazy, and I just was so sick, and I had to call an ambulance again. And they diagnosed me in the emergency room with diabetes, and it was
What?
so unusual because it's not my family.
Uh-huh.
It was not type 2, it was type 1. That we found out like through lots of testing later on that it was type 1, which
Yeah.
usually you get when you're younger.
Yep.
Um, and, you know, that changed my life dramatically, obviously. I
Yeah.
had already made the decision. I'm going to transition. I'm going to live the life that I feel as though that I was meant to live. Um, the gender dysphoria was knocking at the door.
Hmm.
But now I have this new thing, this
Hmm.
diabetes, which kind of complicated things.
That's right.
So, from going back to the club scene, kind of transitioning without really knowing it, and then
Yeah.
detransitioning, and
Yeah.
then, starting transition, started
Yeah.
hormones, started going to work, as a female. I was embraced. It
Mm.
was really
Great.
wonderful.
Great.
Um, and I had a checkup, and my doctor yanked me off the hormones. Said, no, this is not going to be an option for you with your type 1 diabetes.
Right, because
Yeah.
well, also the kidney and the liver and all of these hormones affect all of that, and now you're dealing with the diabetes and also the kidney problem as well, right?
So when I had a physical with my doctor, who is actually a diabetes specialist, and she did some blood works. I was
Yeah,
having chest pains, and I was complaining about the chest pains. I had started to develop breasts again. I was starting to, really ease into my transition,
yeah.
and she said, "This hormones aren't an option for you now." She said, they're not an option. I said, well, what about in the future? She said, well, we can talk about that in the future, but I don't. And so I naturally I wanted to get a second opinion.
Yeah.
So I did go to somebody and they said that they would not prescribe me hormone. Because the complications from my diabetes mixed with hormones, the chance of me having a heart attack, a massive heart attack, like, it would be so significant.
Wow.
And it scared me, At that point in time during my transition, I was doing hormones. I was like going to and from work, and I was living as a way, growing my hair out, the whole thing. But I felt in between. I don't know if you've ever felt that,
Mm-hmm.
like
I did.
in between where you're kind of like,
Yep.
you're not living
Yep.
as a full trans person,
That's
and
right.
you're not living as a male or a female. You're just in between.
Yes.
And the gender dysphoria that I had living in between was so severe. It was so much worse than just living as a gay male
Wow.
because I just didn't feel I had an identity.
Yeah.
I felt unseen. I didn't feel a part of any community. I didn't feel, I just didn't feel anything. I
Yeah.
was lost. And I was like, well, and then asked about, well, what about, all right, hormones aren't everything. What about facial feminization surgery? They're like, well, you're going to have some significant scarring because of the fact that diabetes, it takes like twice as long to heal. The skin takes a significant, so putting yourself through unnecessary surgeries is a really bad idea. So I back to the therapist, and I made peace with it. And I stopped hormones and I decided I want to be alive. What good is being trans in a casket? What good is my truth? Like,
Totally.
and truth be told, like they can make me up however they want. I won't know. I'll be dead. But
Totally.
I'm here now. I want to live, like I went through all of that,
That's right.
The distressing part is that since I made that decision and started to tell people, I have had this multiple times from different people. If you were really trans, nothing would stop you. And I'm like,
What?
okay,
Somebody said that to you
yeah,
in
nothing
a
would
in the
stop you.
transgender community?
It was somebody in the LGBT community. It was not a transgender person. A transgender person has since said that to me at a support group that, was after.
Support group.
Yeah, yeah. If you were really, it was some version of if you were really
Shame.
trans, nothing would
Shame.
stop you.
Shame. Shame on these people. How dare they say that to you? What is wrong with this community? I really, and that's just sort of like a question. It's not necessary for you to answer, but I don't get it. I've been in this community for a long time, man. And of course we always kind of mess with each other in this way. But the one thing I will tell you, my friend, is we never acted the way we're acting now about each other. There's some schism. There's meanness. There's meanness. You don't
This,
say that. You don't say that to another. First off, they don't know your story. You fucking can't take it. You will die if you take it. So
I've been explicitly told. Yeah.
that's
By
right.
two doctors, and then even my therapist said, you know, he knows very little about, that, but he said it makes sense. Hormones increase the fatty tissue. I mean,
That's right. I mean, the fact that the doctor told you can't take it, you can't take it. You can't override the doctor. That does not make you trans. These people are insane, friend. I'm saying it, not you. I'm saying it. I don't like it. I've worked hard in this community to create spaces that we can all live comfortably. That, I've walked the world this way for 31 years and I haven't
uh,
had any problems. I mean, of course, you get shit from people, whatever. You learn in any kind of scenario. You just learn. Gay people get it. Everyone gets it, right? So that being said, this idea that there is this like idea that a trans person can tell another trans person that, and you know what's always coming out of this community? It's always coming out. You're valid enough. They always say that shit. But then they turn around and attack somebody who clearly is in a situation who wishes they could take it, and you're at a
Right.
very vulnerable space, and you're in a safe group.
I'm mourning the loss of my identity. I'm
That's
mourning the
right.
loss of, my identity.
Shame
It's
on them.
part of my life that I thought I was going to be able to,
That's right.
move forward with. But you know what? The Rolling Stones wrote a song about it. You can't always get what you want. You
Brilliant.
and I spoke
Brilliant.
to a friend of mine who's short and she's stocky, and she
Yeah.
said, I feel 10 feet tall. Like, she's got a really big personality. She's
Yeah.
an entertainer. She's
Yeah.
like, but I'm short and this is the height that I am.
Yeah.
And you know, we all have to make, I mean, I know it's not the same thing. And she was just trying to help, and she was
That's
just
right.
trying. So,
Yeah.
but it's to some degree true. What struck me when I was told this, that, if you were really trans, nothing would stop you, was that the people that told me, I'd said 3 or 4 times now, I've been
Yeah.
had some version of that thrown at me, are all at least 10 years my junior. Yeah.
Bam. And there it is. It
I
makes
came
total.
out I came out in 1989 in the middle of the era, like,
Oh, my friend, it just I should have known it. It's that newer trans. Those people are, I hate to say those people, but it is a very specific generational thing where they have come in and just trying to rewrite what trans is, trying to rewrite our LGBT history, trying to rewrite what a drag queen is, trying to rewrite everything about everyone, but then turn around saying like you're valid, your experience is valid, and then turning around saying that to you. The hypocrisy of these people. How are
well, it broke my heart,
I
like, like
know.
I think about the days of ACT UP and Queer Nation and the things that we did back in the day, the activism. We were fighting for our lives. We were fighting for the lives of our
That's
brothers and sisters, and our community, and we did it all so that things would be easier, and
for
it
the
just,
next
like,
generation. We did
right,
it
right.
for those kids. We did what we did for those kids.
Because I didn't get to transition in a medical facility in the 90s.
That's
Nobody
right.
do that for me.
Nobody did.
Not
Yep.
even in the I was
Nope.
going to an LGBT health center.
Nope.
Very rarely. I mean, the
Yep.
red tape that you had to go through to
That's right.
get hormones was so, it was outrageous. I mean, I
Yep.
don't know, like, how the reaction would be if that were the case today. I think people would be bonkers. Like, they would freak out.
They wouldn't. They First off, let me tell you this. Again, all this is my opinion. I think many of them would not be trans if it was not so easily accessible. Nor would they be trans if they could not self ID as trans. So I know exactly what's happening. It's just given to them now. You can go on the internet in 20 minutes. You can get testosterone. You couldn't do that back. I disagree with that. I don't think
Yeah,
hormones should be that accessible at all. No. Look what the doctor's telling you, that if you take these hormones, it's gonna fuck you up, even might even kill you. Yet
I
they're
was
handy.
having chest pains. I was having, like, that's what led me
Yeah,
to begin with, to get checked out.
yeah,
To get a full physical. Like, why am I having chest pains? Like,
that's right. But
it's
but
like,
what about the kids who are just taking this stuff and then maybe having the chest pains, but they maybe don't have a primary care physician because they can't afford it, right? Or they're going to Planned Parenthood and getting the hormones for nothing, and then having heart palpitations and all this stuff, but they can't. That's why I keep saying these are drugs. These are irreversible.
very,
Look at
very strong, very strong, very.
very, very. There's no reversing. You can't reverse this.
I,
This is
I
not
feel, I mean,
reversible.
I won't be so crass as to, like, but I mean, I still have a chest, from the hormones that reach, so am I detransitioning? Yes, I am detransitioning,
Okay,
because I would rather be, I live my life and walk the world as a gay male who does drag and who, is
that's
alive and who's
that's right.
healthy.
That's right.
And, I honestly, going from being in the middle to going back to, back detransitioning, the dysphoria, and making peace with it with my
Yeah.
therapist, the
Yeah.
dysphoria has subsided to a tolerable degree. It's not always
Brilliant.
on my mind anymore.
Yeah.
It's not all consuming. It was all
Yeah.
consuming.
I
I
know.
could think of nothing else but what is my next step? How quickly can I get cheekbones? How quickly can I,
That's right.
and I'm not
Yeah.
the prettiest thing on the face of the earth, but
You're
I
pretty.
wanted to. I had a goal. I had like a point that I wanted to get to in
Yes.
transition,
Yes.
and it's like it's if you're creating something, if you're creating, especially when you're creating your identity,
That's right.
you don't want to like half-ass it. You don't want to like,
No.
and health is everything. I learned that, having to relearn how to walk and having to,
Wow.
like all of that stuff, all the
Wow.
things that, that I went through growing up, all the things that I went through in the Catholic Church, all the things that I went through,
Yeah.
coming, like I've had to question, and I've learned to question everything. And I've
Yeah.
learned to also like do the research and get
That's right.
informed, because what breaks my heart right now is that a lot of people are, I see in my experience, what I see is people are quick to go ahead with things that maybe they don't know if they have it. Maybe they have a health condition. I think that it, they just need to be careful, and be safe, and, not rush. It's not,
Well, that
not,
that 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 is 100% you're right, but how can we slow down a system that has been completely destroyed? I went through a system, friend. I went through an actual system,
yeah,
31 years ago. Never looked back, never have had any health problems except a couple things, but really, I'm super healthy, all these things because I was taught how to create a healthy environment for this transition. They told me this stuff's going to eat you up. We don't know what's going to do to you, but
right.
anyway, making a choice at 30. Now, that being said, let's talk about what's happening today. There are 15 and 16-year-old kids doing this. You think that they can understand what you and I have had to deal with, or do you think they even care? They
I
don't.
don't think that as it's I feel really bad that this generation, like when I was bullied and I had to process something, I
Yeah.
would go home and you'd have like maybe an incident that would happen during the day, and you have the whole day to process that one
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Now kids are being hit with a message after message after message after message, and it's
That's right.
wildly quiet. They're not even able to, they don't get to sit with anything. They don't get to
That's right.
process anything.
That's
So
right.
I feel really badly that that they're being so inundated and so overwhelmed.
I
I
know.
can understand why you know, they're doing the things that they're doing.
Me too.
Having said that, a little respect for the elders might be, like,
Remember when you were young? I mean, we kind of talk shit about older. Yeah, sit down. You don't know what you're doing anymore. Like that gets said to me now. But
yeah,
I get it. I honestly don't take it personally. I don't
I,
because I know the kids. They're struggling. What you said is so great. Thank you for saying that. They got the phone now. They got and then they got peer pressure beyond what you and I have ever had to deal with. Right? I mean, they got
I mean,
millions
yeah.
of people now pressuring them to do things, right?
Even look at me at 47 years old. I am being told that my transgendered identity isn't valid because I
Wow.
can't take hormones, or I'm deciding
Wow.
not to go through with a procedure or procedures that are potentially going to cause me health issues. I've I've made my peace with it. It's my body, it's my autonomy, it's
That's
my,
right.
and
That's right.
I for to get pressured,
It
uh,
doesn't mean you're not. First off, shame on them. Just shame on them because they're always giving mixed messages here. I don't even listen to that. That being said, you're smarter than that. I can already tell. It's your life and your identity and however you need it. If you're still it doesn't not make you trans because you can't medically transition. That's something they keep saying. That's why I'm shocked that they're always saying you don't have to medically transition to be trans, right? Well, that's why I separate transsexual from transgender because I would say you're more of a transsexual. You have hardcore gender dysphoria, you're fighting it, but you physically cannot transition. How does that not make you trans?
I mean, it's the thing is that people have all kinds of things that we can't see. I also have PTSD. I also have depression. I also have other things like
There
other
you
things
go.
that are going on with me.
There
People
you go.
can't see that on the
Nope.
outside, not
Nope.
like something you can see. So,
That's right.
like the physical transformation is not always the end game. And
It's not.
some people have, barriers, have this barrier, and
That's right.
it's my decision to make. It's my call
That's
to
right.
make.
That's right.
And at,
Yes.
at at one point I was also feeling like I was betraying, and I don't feel like I would feel this way if people hadn't given me resistance about,
Yeah.
detransitioning, and
But wait, let me just say something here, Eileen. I don't know if it's detransitioning. I mean, I know this is your story and however you need to do it, but when I'm hearing you and what I'm saying is doesn't it's not you're not detransitioning. You're just moving forward with your dysphoria and you're using that how you can actually connect to it and stay alive.
exactly,
like,
yeah,
like there's no question here. You still have dysphoria. You're still
yeah,
trans. You're all those things. You
absolutely.
just have to make a choice. Do I want to die or do I want to stay alive and have to look like a man or whatever that is, right?
And the whole being in it, like the hormones and the surgeries and things that would have helped me to, feel the way that I wanted to feel or look the way
Yeah.
that I want to look,
Yeah.
because of that not being an option, I am choosing to walk the world as a male. I
But that
did
doesn't not make you trans.
right. It doesn't. I'm
that
still inside. It's all trans women. You know what I mean? Like,
so I'm going to use my story for real quick here. The same thing.
or
I couldn't get penis surgery. It just wasn't a possibility for me. I had to figure out how to walk the world as a man who doesn't have a penis. That wasn't easy, but I did it. I walked through it. I got my dysphoria in check. That's literally what you're doing. You're doing the
yeah,
exact same thing. You're checking because I can't the serenity parrot change the things you can change and deal with the things you can't change. That's an actual fact. So you deal with the shit. You can't change everything in your life. I don't care what it is. There's some things you're gonna have to just deal with and move forward, and that's what you're doing right now. You're doing the serenity parrot. Change the things you can and deal with the things you can't change, and that's
yeah.
powerful, Eileen. I have to say that's powerful that you're doing
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. My very close friends and family, I've been blessed, like it wasn't easy back in the day because,
No,
coming out, just even coming out as gay in
totally,
1989, I had to
totally.
come out again I had to do it
Yeah,
twice because they
yeah.
didn't believe, like they thought I was pushing their buttons because I was about, so just like, yeah, 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 let's talk when you're 16. I'm like, yeah, still here,
It's
like,
still here. It's still
yeah,
knocking on the door.
still dig guys, sorry. But
Right
like
on.
I've been really, really, I've been lucky. I have really amazing friends. I have really amazing family. And
Excellent.
those that are closest to me have
Yes.
said, whatever you need to do, I will support that. What
There you go.
pronouns do you want? And I'm like, I don't honestly care what pronouns you like. Use use the ones that you know me as. Like, so some people know me only as Eileen, and other
Right.
people know my other
Right.
identity. So
Right.
some people, are never not going to call me Eileen or she
Yeah.
and that's
That's right.
totally fine. That's
Well,
totally
that's old school. That's how we used to be back in the day. Remember? I mean, people used to always say, "Hey, girl," right? I mean,
yeah.
today you would get offended by that. Like, what? People call me girl all the time. I'm like, who cares? Here's what it is, and I
The
really want
skin
the
was
world to see
thicker. The
Eileen.
skin was
Yeah,
thicker.
but not only that, you actually understand that okay, everything that you do and you walk the world is you. You don't have to get validation to be you. That's literally what you're saying right now. I don't need validation from you telling me who I am. I fucking know who I am, okay? And that's the problem that I see when people say you're not trans or I would do. Like, how dare people even put their own, that's their own baggage. You know that. That's their own insecurity. The fact that you're able to do what you do, it actually makes people angry because they can't do it. They can't do it.
Well, the thing is, and the reason, like, I thought it was important to share my story,
Yes,
is that would implore that other people that have health issues, please be safe, take care of yourself. You
that's right.
matter.
That's right.
Your health matters.
That's
I
right.
can't wait till, and I hope it doesn't take some tragedy or something awful, but
Oh,
I wish that the community would come
yeah,
back together again.
I
I
know.
feel
Me too.
so it kills me
Me
to
too.
see all the infighting and the
It's
pain
horrible.
and
The fact is people don't get where me and you came from, right? We came from a space where we had AIDS and we had all this shit and people fucking hated us and gay was horrifying. And now that's like really kind of in the past and things are a lot easier. I think the problem is that then when there isn't that really hardcore fight, you have to create a fight on some level. And I think a lot of this, and I don't want to be disrespectful to the younger generation, but I
but
definitely don't think that they understand that what the privileges they have. I always look at the glass half full. I feel like a lot of people are looking at the glass half empty. And I think we have to change that narrative in our community because we don't have to hate on each other. They love it. They love it that we hate on each other. Are you
yeah,
fucking kidding me?
the
They
super
love it.
fundamentalist Christians,
They love it.
they don't have to do anything to us because we're doing it to ourselves. So,
Brilliant.
they
Brilliant.
it, and I when I worked in the nightclubs, I used to work at the door, and I worked at a club called Avalon. It was across the street from Fenway Park in
I,
Boston. Fenway
yeah.
Park, home of the Red Sox.
Yeah.
And when games would let out, and I'd be at the door with the clipboard, they'd say, "Eileen, come inside," and I said, "Nope." And they'd say, "Come inside." I said, "Nope, I will not." And they threw things at me. I had bottles thrown at me. I had a stanchion
Wow.
swung at me. I had to go to court
Wow.
because a stanchion hit one of the bouncers. It was meant for me. And I told him, I said, "Don't bring me to court because he's going to say gay panic." And that was actually a thing. And he, of course, claimed gay panic. I thought she was a girl. And that's why I
Wow.
flung the stanchion at her and it hit the bouncer and he got off. I said, "Don't put me in it." It was so
What?
different. But I thought that by standing there, I knew somehow that representation mattered and that visibility mattered and
That's
that,
right.
I didn't want to run anymore. I just needed to stand at that door and
Great.
I would not relent. I would not,
Brilliant.
it was definitely the harder way to go. I, like
But
I,
it's because of people like you, and it's because of people like you and the generation before this that got nailed and punched in the face, and all of the things that we have that we can have these stories. And this doesn't necessarily happen as much now. Now that being said, Eileen, I will tell you that I see more of that happening again now. I see
like, yeah,
more. It's happening to us again when it stopped for a long time. What? Well, I know my reason why I think it's happening. Do you have an
I,
understanding of
I
why?
think that like between like COVID and everybody being locked up and then Trump like sort of like
Totally.
bringing out the worst
Totally.
in everybody. I mean, he really like he's
Yeah.
not smart enough to. I don't. He's just. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
he lit a fire and he allowed
Yeah.
hate to be okay, and it's not okay.
No, not in
So
this
he,
country. We have
yeah,
to. And also, LGBT has been totally chill. People are chill. I come from a space where they try to kill me when I was a young
me
dyke
too.
and all.
Yeah,
I'm like, and the shit that happened to you, it rarely happened anymore, but it's starting to happen again. I don't know if you know, in Seattle, they raided a gay bar. They actually raided a gay bar. Like it's fucking
rated
19. Raided. The police or the FBI raided a gay bar.
for what
It's a
purpose?
That's
Like,
right. For what purpose? That's exactly
I
right. They,
mean,
nope. No one even knows why they raided the gay bar, but look
where
it
is
up.
the tape coming from? I definitely will look that
That's
up.
what I'm trying to tell you. Now all of a sudden they're raiding gay bars again. What? Got rid of that shit. We have a legal right in this country to have gay
I
bars
mean,
and what?
that's kind of like Stonewall was
Literally that.
the
And you know,
beginning
Dan,
end of that.
it is fucking mind blowing. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's the start of the downfall of our rights again. You know, people are always saying there's 750,000 LGBT anti. No, no, no. These bills are really directed at a very specific thing. They're directed at trans, okay? They're not LGBTQIA bills. These are trans bills. The other thing that I really going to tell you, Eileen, that it really kind of upsets me a little bit is they don't even use the word gay anymore. Everything is LGBTQIA. It doesn't that doesn't reflect all of us. There are gay men, there are gay women, there are bi people, there are trans people, there are queer, right? You can't use that whole space to say a gay bar
Both
not
have always,
ready. That's what I'm trying to say here. Let's get to maybe your concerns. Do you have concerns about what's happening, or is there
I mean, I'm
so
just concerned about the division. I've done a lot of soul searching, and I've sort of taken apart the word identify. Like I identify as a trans. I realized, I've come to for me, and this is just for me. I identify things that are external. My identity is internal,
that's right?
and it will always be. So I can identify that this is a bottle of water. I can
Yeah,
identify that this is a
right.
phone. I can identify that, but my identity is in
Yeah,
me. It
yeah,
doesn't go away, and it's no less valid no matter how I look. There are people who have been in car wrecks that, their looks are changed for life. There are
that's right.
people who, you know, like my friend who have big personalities, but they feel 10 feet tall, but they're short. There are people that are trans that
That's
can't
right.
transition. There's a
That's right.
whole huge world of people out there, and
That's
every
right.
one of them is valid. Every one of them
That's right.
matters, but every one of them doesn't need to fight against. I mean, what's the beef? There
What
shouldn't
is
be
the beef? I would like to know what the beef is too. I mean, come
like
on. We
oh
have,
crap. Oh, where's the beef? Like
I
what's the
know.
now it's what's the beef?
But it's so sad because really everyone doesn't need to be so fucking angry. We really, I mean, my God, you used to have to fight to get any kind of hormones or surgery. It's all handed out. We fought to get that put in the insurance space. Half these people getting paid for by insurance. Again, seeing the glass half empty. You and I have a responsibility as elders in this community to sort of help these kids navigate through this without feeling so angry or that they're not being seen. They are being seen.
And that's what when the aging sucks, right? I mean, it is, but like Betty Davis said, aging isn't for sissies or something like that.
That's right. It's
She,
not for
she,
sissies.
she'd be canceled for saying that now, but she, it's true, and the one thing that I looked forward to was, I can't have children. That's biologically
Yeah,
impossible. I cannot have
right,
children.
right.
Can't have a period, can't have children, things that are real.
God.
Um, so the kids, like, not that I have kids or
Yeah,
but I have nieces and not nieces and nephews but cousins or like the ability
yeah,
to share my experience with people who are coming up is something that I looked forward to. I was like, oh, one of these days I'm going to be that old lady sitting at the end that says,
that's right.
make sure you do this or make sure you don't do
That's
that
right.
or watch out for this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm kind of being robbed of that experience. And
Well, you
I'm
are. You
I'm
no, no.
sitting there.
Here's the deal, Eileen. There are young people who look to us. I have amassed a large generation of young people because I started speaking out. They didn't know that there are people like you and I because we were silenced. But now they're starting to see that you and I are here, and now they're going to see you even more. And Eileen is here for you kids, and you. It's
Totally.
not. You cannot lose that spot. It is actually one of the most. I think it's sort of like an honor to sit in that space. And I think that we're losing this idea that how important elders are in our community. And we're looking down as if they're not important. And, not me. I'm not talking about me necessarily. You know what I mean? It's just important that you never in the history of our community or in the history have you ever said the things you say to elders in a community who fought for you.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I remember meeting Sylvia Rivera, and I ran up and gave her a big hug, like
Oh,
in my,
beautiful.
and she was, I was salty, and she was like,
Of course.
I was like, thank you so much, and she was like, yeah, all right, kid,
She's like, get the
you know,
fuck off me.
yeah, you're invading my space, like, and rightfully so, I was
Sure.
like sort of excited. She was a
Sure.
hero, this, that, and the
Yeah.
other. But like I was so grateful, to her
Thank you.
so many
Thank you.
people and
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think you're right, we do have that responsibility. It is an honor, and I think people
Yes.
will come forward, and they will. I
They
have
will.
I know I've only addressed the people who criticize me for
Yeah.
stopping my transition, where it's whatever you want to say it is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but I should also say that every so often I'll get a DM from somebody who says, "Thank you for for the activism, or for like that."
That's
So
right.
I got one a couple months ago from somebody who said, "I'm HIV positive, and
Oh,
it's because of your generation." Gen X, we exist. It's between the boomers and the,
that's right.
we exist. We're here.
That's right.
And we did a lot. But this individual said, it's because of your generation that we have these medications, that I'm able to keep my partner safe. And I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know why they picked me. It doesn't really matter.
No,
But
it doesn't. It doesn't
yeah,
matter. It matters that they acknowledge that. And I think, especially with HIV now, right? We have PrEP and we have all these other things. The young generation has no clue, right? Trans men, I saw it coming. A lot of trans men have HIV now, and I saw it coming a long time ago. And I kept telling them, use condoms. Men will talk you out of it. We know how dudes are. That's how it is. They didn't listen to me, and it's horrible. It's horrible. I mean, but that doesn't have to happen. It just doesn't. But they don't want to. It's like, I don't know what it is. I just feel like it's a generational thing. And, remember, kids don't ever want to listen to their parents. We're like parents.
I think it's like thinking about, like, maybe it's like how we would think about, like, consumption or tuberculosis or something. I don't know, like,
Maybe.
like
Yeah,
we don't think of it. But to be fair, tuberculosis has a vaccine. Like HIV, there is no cure, there is no vaccine. There's just
that's right.
this medical management, and it's a billion-dollar industry for
That's
them
right.
to continue to treat you. So we've got to watch out for ourselves and for each other.
My
I think,
God, they're creating that in the trans space. I don't care what anybody says. I'm an elder and I see it. It has become a medicalized, hardcore. And the fact that those great doctors were telling you can't, thank God for those doctors. Send them love from me, because that
yeah,
means they actually do care about you. We have doctors today just throwing hormones at these young people. Then the young people are calling me, I have these cramps. And I'm like, you have atrophy. The doctor didn't tell you were going to get that? Nope, they never told me. I'm like, how is that even legal? That's malpractice. The fact that doctors told you to stop means that they care about you. That's what
right.
that means.
And you know
Yes.
what? I will trust them now moving forward, because it's for trans people, for queer people, or whatever. I'm not a
Yes.
big, or queer, or
Me neither. Yeah.
LGBT, whatever
It's okay.
people.
Yeah.
It's hard to trust doctors. It's hard to trust
Totally.
cops. It's hard to trust any.
That's right.
It came up when a doctor might walk out of the room and pass
That's
you on to
right.
somebody else if you were
That's
gay,
right.
trans. 'Cause
No,
they
no,
didn't
they
want
wouldn't touch you. I
they would
remember the
touch you.
whole.
Yeah.
Oh, they would not touch you. It was like, I remember they made us put on suits to go in and see. I'm like, what? Like, I remember how insane it was, as if everyone was going to catch AIDS if you touch these people. It was
But
horrifying.
every time I went to the doctor, no matter what I went in there for, if I like had a like a sprained ankle, they would
Yeah.
test me for HIV, and I'm like, I haven't had sex in like 6 months. Like, why
That's
you?
so sick. That is homophobic right there.
Yeah, I was like,
Right there.
those are the doctors I'm not going to trust. You know what I mean?
No,
They're
of
just making
course.
assumptions that just because you're a certain type of person, that you're a certain type of person, or
No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Of
that you're
course.
engaging in unsafe
You're gay.
practices.
You must have AIDS. No, they
Yeah,
totally. Yep. Yep. I think
and
there's still doctors that think that.
it's really
It's
wow.
sick,
It's really
friend.
crazy. Like, and
Um,
I asked that doctor, would you do that to a heterosexual female? She
they,
came in,
nope.
and
They
he
would not. They would not.
took the B, but I don't think it's sunk in.
I know, because we have a lot of work to do around that. But with
Yeah.
that, Eileen, thank you so much. I'm going to have to run, but you're awesome, and I'd love to maybe have you back again for a conversation. And remember, like, leave Eileen beautiful messages because Eileen stepped up, and her story is tragic. And you can even see how people react in our community about things like that. I think you're an awesome person, Eileen. I think it says a lot about you that you were able to navigate that horrible thing that happened to you. Not only that you can't move forward in your transition does not make you a detransitioner. I don't look at you like that in any way, shape, or form. It just means you have to figure out how to make it work for you without taking hormones. And
Right.
that's part of being trans on some level. Sometimes we have to navigate. I didn't get to have a penis and I had to figure it out, right?
Yeah. I'm
How to
choosing to
figure it
walk
out.
as a gay male,
That's
because
right. That's
it's just,
right.
I know how to live that life. I know how to, and maybe the future holds something different. Who knows? But it's going to
Great.
be, you know,
Beautiful attitude. Listen to that. Beautiful attitude. We need more of that in the world, and everyone will start to calm down. And with that, everybody, thank you again for watching. I hope you really love this interview. Please leave her lots of beautiful comments like you always do. And I'll see you guys all on the live on Wednesday. Thanks for joining us.